as a park ranger in the United States for over 10 years. Long enough to understand that not every trail in a national park is meant to be explored. Some trails are closed for weather. Some are closed for safety. But a small number are closed for reasons we are never allowed to explain. When a trail disappears from a map, it does not mean the danger is gone. It means something happened there, and it cannot be allowed to happen again. Visitors often ask why certain paths are blocked off without explanation. No signs. No warnings. Just silence. The truth is, rangers are trained not to answer those questions. We are told to redirect tourists, change the subject, smile and move on. Because once people know these places exist, curiosity takes over. And curiosity gets people killed in national parks. There are rules rangers follow that never appear in training manuals. They are passed quietly from senior ranger to rookie, almost like a warning. One of the first rules I was taught was simple. If you hear someone calling your name in the woods, you do not respond. Not loudly. Not quietly. You pretend you heard nothing at all. At first, I thought it was just an old superstition. Something meant to scare new rangers into staying alert. But the way it was explained told me otherwise. The ranger who warned me looked genuinely afraid. His voice shook. He told me that the forest uses familiar sounds. Because if it sounded dangerous, no one would ever follow it. My first encounter happened in a section of the park that no longer appears on public maps. The trail markers were old, faded, almost intentionally ignored. I was doing a routine night patrol when I heard footsteps behind me. Slow, deliberate, matching my pace perfectly. When I stopped walking, the footsteps stopped too. I stood there for nearly a full minute. My heart was pounding so loudly I was sure something could hear it. I told myself it was an animal, maybe another ranger. Then I heard my name, spoken clearly, calmly. The voice sounded exactly like mine. I did not turn around. Every instinct told me to run, but my legs refused to move. The voice repeated my name again, this time closer. I remembered the rule. If you hear your own voice, you leave immediately. No questions. No investigation. So I walked away slowly, never once looking back. That night, nothing followed me. At least, nothing I could see. But the feeling of being watched stayed with me all the way back to the station. When I reported the incident, my supervisor didn't ask questions. He didn't file a report. He simply nodded and said, "Stay out of that area from now on." That area was officially closed 2 weeks later. No announcement was made. The trail was quietly removed from updated maps. This happens more often than people realize. Trails don't always close because of erosion or wildlife. Sometimes they close because too many people stop coming back, and the pattern becomes impossible to ignore. Search and rescue teams are trained to stop searching at sunset. Most people assume it's because of visibility. That's only half the truth. The real reason is sound. At night, the forest changes how noise travels. Voices echo where no one is standing. And following them leads searchers into places they were never meant to find. There was one case involving a missing hiker that still haunts me. His family reported hearing him calling for help near a closed trail. Multiple rangers heard it too. The problem was, the voice came from different directions at the same time. That's when the search was officially called off. Not because we gave up, but because we knew better. A week later, the voice stopped. No remains were found. No evidence. Just silence. Cases like that never make the news. They are labeled as voluntary disappearances. Animal encounters. Anything but the truth. Because the truth raises questions no one is prepared to answer. Some hikers report finding staircases deep in the woods. Concrete steps leading nowhere. No buildings. No ruins. Rangers are trained to avoid them. We do not photograph them. We do not approach them. And we never let visitors climb them. Anyone who does rarely comes back the same. Those who return often describe missing time. Hours. Sometimes days. They cannot explain where they were or what they saw. The strange part is, they all describe the same feeling. A sense of being watched, judged, like something was deciding whether they were allowed to leave. There are sounds you should never follow in a national park. Whistling, crying, a child laughing. These sounds are designed to feel safe, familiar, inviting. Rangers are trained to ignore them completely, because the moment you respond, whatever is making the sound knows you are listening. Closed trails are monitored more than open ones. Not with cameras, with distance. Rangers are told to stay far away, to let nature take its course, to avoid drawing attention. The less interaction these places receive, the safer everyone else in the park remains. Some trails disappear overnight. Barricades go up. Signs are removed. And federal officials arrive quietly. Reports are rewritten. Photos confiscated. And everyone involved signs documents they are never allowed to discuss. By morning, it's as if the trail never existed. People assume national parks are empty wilderness. They are not. They are controlled environments. And some things inside them are carefully contained. Not fenced in. Not trapped. Just avoided. Because confrontation would make things worse. If you ever find yourself hiking and notice a trail marker that looks old or unofficial, turn back. If a path seems inviting but does not appear on your map, leave immediately. And if you hear your name being called from the trees, no matter how familiar the voice sounds, pretend you heard nothing at all. Some trails are closed to protect people. Others are closed to protect whatever lives there. The parks don't advertise this. Rangers don't talk about it. And visitors are never warned. But now you know. And once you know, the forest listens a little more closely. The first time I realized how many trails had been erased, I asked another ranger to show me an old map. Not the public one. The internal version. What I saw made my stomach drop. Entire sections were crossed out by hand. No explanations. Just red lines and handwritten notes that said, "Do not reopen." Some of those closures dated back decades, long before modern equipment or GPS, which meant whatever caused them was strong enough to shut down trails. Even when rangers had fewer tools and fewer answers. That realization changed how I looked at the forest. It wasn't wild. It was managed damage. One closed trail passed near a creek that never froze. Even in winter, animals avoided it completely. No tracks. No droppings. We were instructed to patrol nearby, but never cross the boundary markers. And most importantly, never camp overnight within earshot of the water. A junior ranger ignored that rule once. He set up camp less than a mile from the creek. At sunrise, his tent was still there. His boots were neatly placed outside. He was never found. The case file was sealed within 48 hours. The trail was erased the same week. The strange thing is how quickly the forest adapts. Barricades rot. Signs fall. Nature hides what we try to mark. That's why maps are updated so often. Not for accuracy, but to stay ahead of whatever is learning our patterns. There are nights when the forest feels crowded, even when no one else is around. You hear movement without seeing anything. Branches bend with no wind. Rangers learn to recognize those nights. We shorten patrols, stick to open areas, and leave as soon as possible. During one patrol, I heard whistling echo through the trees. It wasn't random. It followed a rhythm, almost like a signal. I marked the time and location. The next morning, that section of trail was already flagged for closure. Some visitors claim the parks are haunted. That's not accurate. Hauntings imply something left behind. What we deal with is still present, still active, and very aware of when it's being observed. One ranger described it best during a debrief. He said the forest doesn't attack people. It tests them. Those who fail the test disappear quietly. Those who pass are allowed to leave, with just enough memory to stay afraid. Closed trails don't feel dangerous at first. That's the problem. They feel calm, inviting. Your instincts tell you nothing is wrong, which is why rangers rely on rules, not feelings, to stay alive. I once stood at the entrance of a permanently closed trail at dusk. The air felt heavier there. Sound didn't carry properly. When I stepped closer, my radio went silent. No static. No signal. Just nothing. That silence is another warning sign. When electronics stop behaving normally, we leave. Not because technology fails, but because something else interferes. Something that doesn't like being tracked or recorded. Visitors sometimes sneak past closures for photos. They think the rules don't apply to them. Those are usually the people we never see again. Their disappearances become statistics, not stories, and definitely not warnings. The forest doesn't chase everyone. That would draw attention. It waits. It listens. And it selects carefully. That patience is what makes it dangerous. The longer you work as a ranger, the more you realize the parks are compromises between public access and quiet containment. Every closed trail represents a failure. We learned from too late. I stopped hiking recreationally years ago. Not because I dislike nature, but because I know what hides just beyond marked paths. Once you understand how many rules exist for survival, relaxation becomes impossible. Some nights, I still hear the forest in my dreams. Not sounds. Intent. A feeling of being evaluated. Like something is deciding whether I'm still allowed to know the truth. If you take anything from this story, remember this. Maps are edited for a reason. Rules are written in response to loss. And silence is often the clearest warning you'll ever get. National parks are beautiful, but they are not harmless. They are controlled environments built around unknowns. We chose not to eliminate. Avoidance is safer than confrontation. That's the lesson rangers learned too late. If you ever see a trail that looks forgotten, let it stay that way. Some paths were closed to protect people. Others were closed to protect the forest from what it already claimed. And now that you know this, the safest choice is simple. Stay on the path. And don't listen when the forest speaks.